Okay, this video is on breath slowing and the mind stopping. And I'm shooting this one on my iPhone, so the upload will be a little bit smaller, and I can do it much quicker than I could with my other videos, which are very large file size, like 500 megabytes. Okay, so this video is about your mind actually stopping and what happens at that point, because that's kind of the jumping off point where whether it's the mind that takes over or something else, you start to have a lot of unique experiences, quite unique experiences, and this is where jhanas happen, and even things that are not quite defined as jhana, but they still happen as well. So what happens after, if you've watched video 2 and I talk about intense concentration, from there there's a couple ways that this can happen. Let's say that you are intensely concentrated on the breath at your nose, and you can count to 10 breaths or 20 breaths or however many you choose. Your concentration is strong. I said in the other videos that I didn't want you to jump into this next realm or levels or whatever, because it's good to experience that concentration, and it's good to build the strength of that concentration once you have it, and once you can get it repeatedly. It's good to have that. I think that it somehow fortifies you or something, so that you can go further into jhana or whatever else, whatever other levels. So let's say that you're intensely concentrated on the breath at the nose, and you can do 10 breaths or 20 breaths or however many, and right then you can choose to do this. It's, I don't know if it's a trick or not, but what happened for me was that I noticed, once I got to that point, I noticed my breath slowing down on its own. It just naturally, my breath slowed down to about half of what it was just prior, and it was just a natural change that takes place, I guess, as you become really concentrated, and your body realizes and your mind realizes that it doesn't need all that oxygen maybe. And you've been sitting there for 10, 15, 20 minutes before this happens probably. So your body's completely at rest, completely relaxed. There's no tension in the muscles whatsoever. And you can go through your body and feel that, feel your hands, see if they're relaxed, feel your arms, feel your chest, feel your thighs, legs, neck, head, everything. Make sure that everything is completely relaxed. So anyway, at some point your body your breathing may drop off like that. And that's kind of scary at first, and you might get some anxiety about that and start to breathe faster on purpose or something. It's strange to realize that you don't really need that much breath. And it's also a bit scary because if it gets really slow, like I'm very in shape from a lot of climbing a mountain over here almost every day. So when my breath, and I've always been in good shape, so when my breath cuts that short, it's almost imperceptible that I'm even breathing. And that's a very weird feeling, and one that you might not get comfortable with all that soon. It did take me a few times, to really understand I don't need that much breath anymore to sit there and do nothing. And that is scary when it first happens. As your fear subsides about that, you might notice something else, and that's if you stop concentrating on the focus of the breath coming in and out of your nose here, if you stop that after the breath slows down, you may notice that your mind has nothing in it. This might be the first time ever that your mind is absolutely still and doesn't have any thought and doesn't have any motion, doesn't have any emotion, doesn't have any, there's no flutter to it at all. It's absolutely still, like rock solid still. And what that means is, I don't know how much of the experience to tell you or not. I would rather you experience it for yourself. I don't know how much I'm going to say. What happens is, your mind is still active. You're awake. You're not in any kind of trance or anything. Your mind is active, meaning it registers things. You might hear a bird outside at that point. You might hear a jet fly over your house like I used to. And when that happens, you might realize you're not yourself anymore. You might almost feel yourself as the jet that flies over your house. You might not feel the body there anymore. And you might feel yourself as a dog barks. You might think that bark came out of you. There's no... when you hear a dog bark in that state, there's no you separate from a dog, so you might actually feel that it was you, or it doesn't matter. You don't really name a dog outside of yourself, so it could have been you, it may not have been you. It doesn't really matter at all. Your mind registered the bark, registered the plane flying overhead, registered the horn beeping outside, whatever it is, but it didn't name it, which is a very strange state, right? Your mind is active. It can hear things. You can feel things if you wanted to, I guess. You can... your senses operate, I guess, but they don't operate in the same way they used to. You don't name things. You don't run things through memory to find out what was that. You know, when you hear a bird chirp, you might not know what it is. Because you didn't name it, you didn't connect it to the memory. On another level, memory still works. So whenever you come out of this state, you're going to still remember what happened. So that's nice. I mean, so that you can actually remember the state and what happened. So that's one way to get into it, I guess, is you realize that naturally your breath slowed down. And then, your concentration was at the breath, but the breath suddenly becomes almost imperceptible, and it doesn't really matter anymore if you focus on the breath. So you can stop. And once you stop, and don't focus on anything, just feel the body. You may feel nothing at all, and you may just be in like a limbo state, or you may start to feel, and this is the next video, you may start to feel an expansion of the body and or mind at that point, a growing or I called it the fatness feeling, and I had it since I was little. I actually had it in bed before I woke up, and I had that an awful lot, and I tried to figure out what it was. Anyway, so that's the next video. So another way I want to tell you a different way this might occur, the stopped mind state, is that, another way it might occur is that you realize that your attention is very well focused, your concentration is right there, you're able to count 10 breaths or 100 breaths, whatever, but your breathing is still going normally. You can actually slow your breath down at that point on purpose and see what happens. I tried this trick a couple of times and it worked, and I was surprised but happy all at once, because the body may not have slowed your breath down naturally, but you're ready to slow it down. It can slow down. There's no problem to do it. So you can slow it down by yourself on purpose. And this is one of the few purposeful things that you can do during meditation that helps anything at all. But you're actually purposely slowing down your breath, and then you can take your focus away from the breath and again, you're in a state where there are no thoughts, there's nothing, and you're just pure experience. It's purely mindful. You're in a complete mindful experience, and it's really quite amazing. So you may sit like that for a while. I would encourage you to. A few times as you meditate, if you reach that point, you can sit like that, and there's no harm done, and it's actually nice to be in that state. And you'll notice, if you can, you probably can, that you can, if you wanted to, like say you had something to do, you were sitting there for 20 minutes already, but you had something to do, you have to go meet somebody for dinner. So you can come out of it, you can stand up and go get dressed, go get your shower or whatever, but you'll notice that you still have this feeling of, almost like a bodiless feeling, or it's not the same you anymore. It's a very different feeling and unique, and there's no harm in it. But what it is it's a mindfulness feeling, almost pure mindfulness. It depends how long the state lasts after you stand up and walk around. You could jump right into something that takes you away from the feeling if you wanted to. I tended to let it go on, as long as it wanted. I thought it was a really cool feeling. I wasn't so attached to it. After a while, that's why I want you to experience it a few times. After a while, you'll come to feel it as almost a normal experience, and it won't have such a strong appeal to you. And then you'll be able to let it go like every other experience that you get in the future. And letting it go is the key to what happens in the next video, which is the expansion that I talked about. And I guess I'll do that video next. So it's raining outside. I'm not sure what you heard of this video or not. Hopefully it worked.